What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Alright, so for today's video, we'll be talking about Atomic Heart on PC. If you're here, then I'm assuming that you're looking for the best graphic settings on PC for Atomic Heart, or you're just looking for some tips and tricks in order for you to have more frames. So that's what we're here for. And we're going to go right into the graphic settings. In the display tab, brightness, I would just leave this at 1. Most monitors and most TVs are going to be perfectly fine at 1, unless you know you're really struggling with brightness, and let's say it's too bright, then lower it down. Or if it's too dark, then obviously bring it up. Image sharpening, I would bump this up to 1.5. I recommend 1.5 just because it's a little bit more sharper, but it's not too sharp. Like 2 would be a little bit too sharp, and 1 is just slightly blurry for me, so 1.5 is really perfect. Window mode, always full screen in every game. Full screen is just the best. It will give you the least latency possible, and also, the maximum performance. So yeah, VSync off. FPS cap, I would just match your monitor frequency. So if you have a 240 hertz display, then go with 240. Mine is a 165 hertz display, so I'm gonna go with 165. But later on, I'm gonna bump this up, or I might as well actually just do it now at the max, which is 300. And obviously your screen resolution, always match your current screen resolution. Now in the quality tab, I would just set this at high or medium and just play from there. So what we're going to do is first just check my current settings. We're going to check them out real quick later. But for now, it's going at like 90 to 130, I would say. That is like the good range. And it's running like at around 85 to like 95. We could say 100, honestly, like from 90 to 100 GPU, which is very good. This is what we want. But then as we go back into the quality tab, like I said, I would just recommend you going with medium first, all medium, and then just one by one check them out. So that's what we're going to do. Depth of field, I would just leave this at high or off. It really depends on you if you really like it or not. I like it. Next up, motion blur. I generally don't like motion blur in games, but in this game it's not too bad. So on is good. Max is a little bit too much, so just on. Now, next up, anti-aliasing. You have two options here. Either you disable DLSS and have it on high TAA, or you use DLSS. So first things first, we're going to use high TAA and see how many frames we get and if there are any problems. So high TAA, as you guys can see, we are hitting almost the same amount, but it doesn't look good in my opinion. I don't know why. It doesn't look good to me, so it really depends on you. If you like it, then leave it at as is. That's really like the highest setting possible, but I would recommend using DLSS and setting it at quality. And yeah, this is pretty much like the best one, unless you have a NVIDIA graphics card that was in like the 40 series. Then I don't know why you would be watching this video. Just bump everything at like ultra or max and go for like DLSS frame generation, and you're pretty much set. But for people who have like 30 series and under, and yeah, pretty much any other PC, I would recommend DLSS super resolution at quality. And then NVIDIA Reflex, this will depend on you. If your CPU is better than your GPU, then go with on. Or if your GPU is better than your CPU, which is my case, then I would go with on plus boost. Or in this case, it just says boost. Fidelity FX super resolution is disabled because we're using NVIDIA DLSS, but I wouldn't recommend it just because it's only FSR 1.0. It is not 2.0, so it's really not that great, and it's gonna be like super blurry and just not that great overall. Animation quality, this frequency at which the animations are updated. So I'm assuming it's like this is like the render distance, but also like the animation that is going on at the distance. So I wouldn't want to do too much of that. Since I'm not too focused on like what's at the distance, I would rather just look at the things that are a little bit closer to me. So medium is good. Shadows aren't really that important to me right now, and shadows looks good. I wouldn't go low for any of these settings. I wouldn't go low, to be honest. Just keep it at medium. That's the lowest you should go. This game really runs well. It's really well optimized, so I wouldn't go any lower than medium. Sorry. I'm in occlusion, medium. Visual effects, medium. these don't have descriptions, but you should know what these are. Or if you don't know, then ambient occlusion has something to do with like, you know, like the sharpness and just like those edges around certain objects. So yeah, keep it at medium. It's pretty good. Effects, it's not really that necessary. Number of objects, I would just keep this at low. I think this will really depend on your VRAM. So if you don't have that much VRAM, or if you just want to use the least amount of VRAM as possible, then go with low. I just don't want it to be like generating and just, you know, generating a lot of things at the same time. So low is really what I would recommend. Materials, this is obviously the quality of like the materials. So high is really good. You want it to be as high as possible because a lot of like this game focuses on details. So high is pretty good. Volumetric fog, I would keep this at medium because low, I think low will give you a little bit of like issues when it comes to like the fog and just like the environment. So keep it at medium. Post processing, medium as well. This has something to do with, you know, all of these things like motion blur and depth of field. So if these are on, then I think this needs to be on as well, or like at medium at least. Textures, it's self-explanatory. Texture quality greatly affects the available memory on your graphics card. So if let's say you don't have a lot of memory in your graphics card, then turn this to medium. I wouldn't go low, like I said. Texture anisotropy, it's just a filtering quality. Generally speaking, 8 is okay. I think most PCs would be able to handle 8. But just because I don't want it to be like working too much, I'm gonna set it at 4. I might set it at 8. We'll see, but I recommend 4. For now, I'm just gonna put it at 8, just to test it out. But usually, like 16 is bad, but there's no 16 because they know that it wouldn't be too good in the game. But 8 should be fine. 8 or 4. 3D model quality. This is like same thing as like with the materials and, you know, like the textures. Sorry, I really got lost here. Yeah, it's the same thing as the textures. So all of these like textures, materials, and 3D model quality, I would set them at high. Vegetation density, obviously, you know, this game, there's a lot of vegetation, but I wouldn't set it at high just because it can kind of like ruin your frames, but it's really important. You need to have a certain amount of vegetation. And the hard drive speed, obviously, this will depend if you have an SSD or if you have an HDD, which is a hard drive disk. I have a hard drive disk, so it's going to be HDD. And shader cache, I would turn this on. It says use the shader cache to boost gaming performance, though we only recommend if you have a PC with at least 12 gigabytes of RAM. I have 16, so it should be plenty enough. It shouldn't struggle. But yeah, once you have all of these settings, as shown earlier, we have pretty much like 90 to 100 frames per second, and it's using a good amount of GPU, but we have a little bit of breathing space. It's not using like 99% or 100, and it fluctuates obviously from where you go. You move around, look at that. It's not struggling. It's not gonna go like into the 60s and in the 30s. It's really gonna be stable. There's some moments where it's gonna stutter. I think that's normal in every game, mostly like single player games. And yeah, look at this. Go around, you get your gun, boom.
There are bodies everywhere.
Let's go towards this person right here.
Saw the bots coming.
Shoot that. Now we're gonna switch your axe. No problem. It seems to be like performing actually even well when we're fighting. So yeah. Now what are we gonna do as a final test? Just like, you know, for the sake of it. Since our FPS cap is 300, so we're really gonna see like how these settings act or like the behavior when we set them like at, let's say, atomic. Atomic is pretty much like max everything. But I'm just gonna set this at HDD for now. And yeah, we're gonna see how it goes. You can see that it's an instant drop. It goes straight away to 60 and it's really struggling. But the game doesn't really look that much different in my opinion. It looked already good with my recommended settings. So yeah, you guys can already know that, you guys can already tell that a lot of these settings are just gonna eat up your frames. So I wouldn't rock this at atomic unless you have a 40 series card, like I said. And then when you go to like all low, all right, let's give it some time a little bit to adjust. all low, it's pretty much the same thing. But then you guys see a little bit of issues, like when it comes to the shadows, when it comes to like loading some textures. So yeah, really, I would really recommend just using my settings. These are like the settings that I have found to be the best. I have tested for like about an hour and a half, and I have played for about 3 hours. So I've tested plenty enough for me to recommend you guys some settings. So all right, so just a quick recap for those who don't want to watch the entire video, or for the people who are going to be watching on TikTok and Instagram. Set your preset at medium, depth of field high, motion blur on, DLSS super resolution quality, DLSS frame generation off, NVIDIA reflex boost, animation quality medium, shadows medium, ambient occlusion medium, visual effects medium, number of objects low, materials high, volumetric fog medium, post-processing medium, textures high, texture anisotropy 4 or 8. It really depends on you. I'll keep it at 4. 3D model quality high, vegetation density medium, hard drive speed depends if you have an SSD or if you have a hard drive disk. That I have an HDD, so I'm going to go with the HDD. Shader cache on. These are the graphic settings that I would recommend. Go play the game, enjoy it, and yeah, I hope that you guys liked this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If so, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe. If you didn't, then dislike. Leave me a comment and on what I should improve or what you didn't like. And yeah, I'll be seeing you guys next time. Ciao, ciao.